بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله والحمد لله صلى الله وسلم على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اهتدى بهداه أما بعد. As was promised on the Sunday, rather than continuing with the chapter of Tahara of BULUGH AL MARAM, every single lesson of the week, we said 1 week or one lesson of the week will be covering the fiqh, the ahkam of tahara and so on, and one lesson will be covering the final chapter of the book, Kitab al-Jami', the comprehensive book. So there's a bit of a change and it's not too heavy on us and the listeners. Okay. He says, rahimahullah ta'ala, Kitab al-Jami', Bab al-Adab, the comprehensive book, the chapter of good manners. And this comprehensive book consists of various different chapters. The first being character, mannerisms, and the second being bir and sila, which is the good treatment of parents and relatives and those close by. Then he goes on to warning against evil actions and encouraging good actions, and dhikr and dua at the end. For the first hadith he mentions, rahimahullah, قال عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حق المسلم على المسلم ست. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم says there are 6 duties that one Muslim has upon another Muslim. So the duties of one Muslim upon another are 6. And one of the benefits of mentioning a statement in this manner is that a person is more readily to listen and willing to hear and more willing to take things in. If I say to you now, there are 3 important things to keep in mind, and I only mention 2, will you not be waiting for the 3rd? Yes, because you're expecting 3. So attention is already focused, fully focused. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِذَا لَقِيتَهُمْ فَسَلِّمْ عَلَيْهِ. That's the first of the 6 duties that one Muslim has towards another. And this word haqq, duty or right, it's referring to something that ought not be left. So it can either be something obligatory or it can be something recommended. For either it can be used to suggest this is something wajib, obligatory, and leaving it is not permitted, or it can refer to something mustahab, recommended. In this case we'll see that the majority of these points are mandoob, recommended rather than wajib. The first, he says, when you meet him, you greet him with peace, with salam. That's the first duty, greeting with salam. Greeting a Muslim with salam is wajib or mustahab. The initial position is that it's mustahab, recommended. Giving salam, the standard position, the initial position is that it's mustahab. And responding to the salam, wajib. That's wajib. Responding to it is wajib. And in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, mentions some of the righteous actions, and one of those he says, giving salam to those who you know and those who you don't know. And perhaps the second one is the one that the majority of us are missing. Giving salam to those who we don't know. Giving salam to those who we know is easy and is common and is done by almost everyone. But what seems to be on the decline is giving salam to those who we don't know. And the Prophet ﷺ mentions here one of those recommended and righteous actions is to give salam to those who you know and those who you don't know. Specifically mentioned, and those who you don't know, because he knows sallallahu alayhi wasallam that it's very likely, and what's common amongst us is that we don't give salam to those who we don't know. If we don't know someone, them to themselves and us to ourselves, especially in our time. But this is something to keep in mind. If someone is sure that somebody's a Muslim, say Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. There's huge reward in it. Okay. Now, the fuqaha, rahmatullahi alayhim, give several exceptions when it comes to giving salam. And one of those is giving salam to the mu'adhin, someone who's making the adhan. You don't give them salam. Similarly, somebody who, or the fuqaha of the Hanabila, rahmatullahi alayhim, mention this. Giving salam to the one reciting the Quran is also not recommended. Because now if you give them salam, they're reciting the Quran, they're going to have to resort to cutting their recitation in the middle of an ayah. And they add on to that several other examples, such as the teacher, the one teaching, such as a class or a lecture. Is that going to clean the socks? Any sort of lesson? Maybe they don't recommend that a person walks in and gives salam to the one teaching. Why? Because it will disrupt the class and disrupt his flow and so on. And so on. So this giving salam, a person keeps in mind the sort of listener, the person on the receiving end, what they're doing. It's recommended, according to these fuqaha, rahmatullahi alayhim, that you don't give salam to the one reciting the Quran. You cut their recitation off. And it goes along with that, things similar, such as the one reciting the adhkar, or the one making dua. And this is quite, it's something that we see. Someone's got their hands up making dua, someone taps them on the shoulder, Assalamu alaikum. It's not the time to give salam. They're in the middle of dua. Okay. With regards to some of the fuqaha of the Maliki and the Hanabila, rahmatullahi alayhim, when it comes to giving salam to the opposite gender, they distinguish between the young person and the older person, the younger person and the elderly. For they say it's not recommended for a person, a young man, to give salam to a young woman. And neither is it recommended for her to respond. Neither is it recommended for her to respond. As for a man or a woman in older age, then they don't mind it and have no issue with it. And the dhabit, the principle, the guideline here is whether some kind of potential fitna may result for you or for them. Maybe not for you, but for them, sometimes. Sometimes, and this is possibly common with young women, if they hear that you have given them salam, things start to play on their minds. Oh, he likes me, oh, he's singled me out to give me the salam, and so on. So sometimes you might think to yourself, there's no fitna here without doubt. Never. But yes, there is, on the receiving end, there is. Maybe thoughts coming to mind, whatever it is. People are weak when it comes to this topic, especially. People's hearts shake very quickly, especially a young woman's. If it's a group of brothers or a group of sisters, there's no issue, inshallah. And this is narrated that the Prophet ﷺ would give them salam. A group of women, a group of sisters, or a group of brothers, the person says Assalamu alaikum, and they respond, there's no harm. And we'll come on later to some of the details of who gives salam to who. First, who responds. A gathering responding to the individual, and a gathering responding to a gathering, etc. That's the first duty of 6. إِذَا لَقِيتَهُ فَسَلِّمْ عَلَيْهِ. If you see him, if you meet him, then you greet him. Assalamu alaikum. And the minimum is Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. And As-salam is one of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's as though a person is saying, may Allah protect you. May Allah protect you, may Allah be with you. Along those lines. That's the sort of rough meaning of it. And what's better than Assalamu alaikum is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And what's better than that is Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And that's as good as it gets. As for the addition of Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh wa maghfiratuhu, then several scholars of hadith have said that's not authentic. And from the most recent I've heard say that is Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, one of the scholars of Medina, one of the scholars of hadith from Medina, who stated that. Okay. وَإِذَا دَعَاكَ فَأَجِبْهُ. This is the second. The first was إِذَا لَقِيتَهُ فَسَلِّمْ عَلَيْهِ. If you meet him, then you greet him. And the second is if he calls you, then you accept the invitation. When he invites you, you respond. Which invitation are we referring to here? This hadith encompasses all types of invitation. Whether it's invitation to a wedding, whether it's an invitation to a meal, whether it's an invitation to their house, whatever it is. Other kinds of invitations. One of the rights of a Muslim upon another Muslim is that he accepts his invitation. Accepts his invitation within reason. Within reason. Otherwise, if we were to accept every invitation that came our way, then we would have no time to go about our daily lives as normal. And within reason. If a person has no reason to reject the invitation, then accept it. Accept it. And this is mustahab, recommended to accept an invitation, except in one type of invitation, which is the walima, the wedding invitation. In which case it's wajib. In which case it's wajib. Because of the stern warning against the one who rejects the wedding invitation. And the wedding invitation becomes wajib if it's an individual invitation. As for a general invitation, it no longer becomes wajib. So a person says to the congregation of the masjid, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum, you're all welcome to my wedding on such and such a date. All of you are welcome. Is this an invitation to an individual or a general invitation? It's a general one. So does it become wajib for everyone to attend? La. It becomes mustahab, recommended. But if I take a brother to the side and I say, Assalamu alaikum, you brother, I want you to attend my wedding invitation. You're invited to the wedding. Here it becomes wajib to attend the first invitation. In some cultures they have 3, 4, maybe, I don't know how many different invitations just for the wedding. So it doesn't become wajib to accept every single one. The first and that's it. And speaking of that, I invite everyone to my walima on the 29th of August. At this masjid at 5 o'clock. Inshallah. That's not a joke, brother. But now this is on YouTube. So they're going to think that they're all invited as well. Inshallah. 5 o'clock, 5:30 here at this masjid. On the 29th of August, bismillah. For like we said, the invitations are, this hadith encompasses all invitations, except the wedding invitation, which is wajib, and the rest are mustahab. Okay. وَإِذَا دَعَاكَ فَأَجِبْهُ. Like we said, وَإِذَا اسْتَنْصَحَكَ فَانْصَحْ. If he seeks your advice, then advise him. If he seeks your advice, then advise him. Some of the scholars, by the way, say all of these are wajib. Some of them say all of these things are wajib. Every one of these rights are wajib, because the Prophet ﷺ does haqq, a duty. But that's a minority of scholars. The majority, like we said, say only the walima is wajib and the rest is mustahab. Because the walima is the one which was sternly spoken of. As for the rest, then it's a kind of out of mannerisms and adab and so on. So when he seeks advice, you advise him. And this has to be what's the word? This ruling here has to be, what has to be kept in mind along with this ruling is that a person gives right advice. Because very often a person, out of their zeal and maybe one thing that they've heard that's incomplete, they think, now let's share that with the whole world. No, the person who told you the advice knew what he was talking about. You're passing the message on half understood. Maybe you haven't fully understood it. Don't advise on issues that you don't know about. If a person has no legal advice and a person asks for legal advice, do we say حق المسلم على المسلم ست, therefore you have to advise? No, you have no legal advice to give. So Allahu A'lam. That's a type of advice, to say I don't know. Because now you could have led him astray, misled him. But to say I don't know, genuinely, not out of laziness, genuinely I don't know. Because otherwise if I speak, then then you're going to go astray and go do something which is wrong. And of course, it's our duty to ask someone who we think knows. Some people ask anyone. Anyone they ask. On anything. Any topic they ask. Whoever. Not everyone can give you an answer on everything. Especially not issues on relating to religious matters. Not anyone can speak about them. For here a person gives advice if they have something sound to give. If they have something sound to give. Or direct them to someone who does know. Is that not a form of advice? It's an excellent form of advice. And it's a more accurate form of advice, a more trustworthy form of advice. And even if a person isn't asked for advice, giving advice generally is recommended. Always. A person has to have this in their heart, wanting good for the Muslims. Always wanting good for Muslims. Some people, subhanAllah, just don't want you to be happy. Don't want a person to be happy. Anyone, not specific individual, just generally. No, I'm not going to let him have this so easy just by telling him to. Why? You know he can get something via a very easy path. Direct him to that path. Is that going to decrease you in anything? Direct him to the path. Help people to get where they want as easily as possible. It has to be instilled in our hearts that we really want good for people, such that we advise them even when they don't specifically ask us, so long as we know, as we said. So long as we know. That's how many rights so far? Three. The first was giving salam. When you meet him, you greet him. The second was accepting invitations. Which one is wajib? The wedding invitation, the walima. Otherwise, it's recommended. And the third was
give advice.
If he asks for advice, you give him advice. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَإِذَا عَطَسَ فَحَمِدَ اللَّهِ فَشَمِّتْ. If he sneezes and then says alhamdulillah, then you say, may Allah have mercy on him. Yarhamukallah to the one who sneezes. For here he says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he sneezes and then says alhamdulillah, which means that you don't say yarhamukallah to the one who doesn't say alhamdulillah. Sometimes we rush to say alhamdulillah. The moment they've sneezed, alhamdulillah. Firstly, let them say alhamdulillah. Let them say alhamdulillah first. And if they don't say it in the first place, then An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala says it's mustahab to remind them to say alhamdulillah, then you say alhamdulillah. You remind them to say alhamdulillah, then you say alhamdulillah. Okay, here, with regards to saying alhamdulillah, the fuqaha say, and there's a narration which indicates this, if a person sneezes and says alhamdulillah, after the third time, a person makes dua for him and doesn't continue to say may Allah have mercy. Because if you're sat in a gathering like this, it took an hour long, or you're in a car journey, which took a period of time, and someone is sneezing, for an hour you're going to be saying Yarhamukallah, 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 Yarhamukallah. And that's going to be irritating. You want to do something else with your life. So you say Yarhamukallah 3 times, and after that, and you make some kind of dua for him because he's ill, he or she is ill. For that, it becomes saying alhamdulillah in the first place is mustahab. It's mustahab. Something that shouldn't be left out. But mustahab according to the jumhur. Jumhur means majority. And consensus means
agreed upon by
what's the Arabic for consensus?
Ijma'.
Ijma'. Okay. Ijma' and jumhur, not to be confused. Ijma' means consensus, and jumhur means majority. But the jumhur here, rahmatullahi alayhim, saying alhamdulillah after sneezing is mustahab. And responding also is mustahab. And some of them, like the Hanabila, say it's wajib. Responding to someone's alhamdulillah becomes wajib. Okay. What we said about saying giving salam to the young woman, we say the same thing here with regards to sneezing. She sneezes, alhamdulillah. Similarly, here in this case, there's no need to say alhamdulillah. There's no need to say alhamdulillah. And there's a narration which I heard, I don't know how authentic it is. Ahmad rahimahullah heard a person, or a abid, a worshipper, say to a young woman after she sneezed, Yarhamukillah. So he said, radiyallahu anhu, abidun jahil. A worshipper but ignorant. A worshipper but ignorant. Why? Because he saw that responding like that wasn't for the woman. It was for a man to a man or a woman to a woman, not to a young woman like that. Out of recommendation. Which shows that knowledge is what? Compared to worship? More important or less important or equal?
Knowledge is important, yeah?
Of course, it will depend on how much is missing. If a person has knowledge only, no worship, that's a problem. If one has worship only, no knowledge, that's a problem. But if worship is there, then no doubt knowledge is extremely important. In fact, the scholars consider knowledge to be the best act of worship after the obligations. Some of them have stated this. That Shafi'i rahimahullah even mentions this. Studying, seeking knowledge is more important and a better act of worship than any other act of worship other than the obligatory acts. Okay, then he says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَإِذَا مَرِضَ فَعُدْهُ. If he becomes ill, then you visit him. Same thing that we said about the salam. Whether it's a person that you know or a person you don't know, you visit. You hear a person is ill in hospital and so on, visit. It's from the huge. This kind of thing brings lots of happiness to a person's heart. Even the salam itself. You think that a person on the street hearing you say assalamu alaikum to them is a light thing. Maybe they're extremely upset. Maybe they're depressed. Maybe they're stressed out. Maybe they're sick and tired of something. And you say assalamu alaikum with a smile. That's going to change their mood, without doubt. Even a small bit. It's not something to be belittled. If we were in a mood like that, we would be very grateful for someone who changed our mood and made us happier. For similarly, maybe we see it as something small, even if we're not in the mood. It could have such a positive effect on another person. But it's not something to be left out. وَإِذَا مَاتَ فَاتَّبِعْهُ. This is the sixth one. If he dies, then you follow him. Follow his janazah. Following the janazah. And then following the janazah is what? What's the ruling on it? And we covered this in Umdat al-Fiqh, the book of janaiz.
Support the people of the funeral.
It's?
Just supporting the people of the funeral.
What do you mean?
Like supporting them of the loss because they might be sad.
Okay, fine, the ta'ziyah. But what's the ruling on attending a funeral?
Somebody within the community has to at least attend.
So it's called what? Fard kifaya. Fard kifaya. Meaning it's obligatory upon someone to do it. But it's not obligatory upon everyone to do it. If somebody has done it, then upon everyone else it becomes a sunnah. Okay, upon everyone else it becomes a sunnah. Now, which means what? Which means if one person prays over the dead person, that suffices. If one person washes them, one person buries them, suffices. And it becomes recommended for everyone else. Okay? أخرجه مسلم, رواه Muslim. This hadith is Sahih Muslim. So we had 6 things, rights of one Muslim upon another. The first we said was giving salam. When you greet him, you give salam. The second was
Invitation.
if he calls you, invites you, you accept the invitation. The third,
Advice.
if he seeks advice, you give it to him. The fourth, if he sneezes and then says Alhamdulillah, you say Yarhamukallah. And the fifth was
when he becomes ill, you visit.
when he becomes ill, you visit him. And the final one, if he passes away, you follow his janazah. And there's a story I heard of, I think Abu Dawood rahmatullahi alayhi Sijistani, one of the scholars of hadith, if I remember rightly, maybe somebody else, where he was in a place and he heard somebody sneeze, and the man said Alhamdulillah. So he said to him, Yarhamukallah. And the man didn't seem to hear him say Yarhamukallah. So he followed him and chased him and went after him and after him and after him and kept following him. And said to him, Ya akhi, I said Yarhamukallah. He said, you came all the way just to say Yarhamukallah? He said, yes. He said, Yahdikumullah wa yuslih balakum. So he went away afterwards, and they mentioned that he saw at night when he was asleep, somebody came to him and said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with what you've done. Allah is pleased with your action. Maybe someone thinks this person must be crazy. But now his reward is far greater than maybe large amounts of action that we can do. So these small things are not to be belittled. I don't know the authenticity of this story, to be honest, but I heard it, and the meaning is what's intended behind it. وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم انظروا إلى من هو أسفل منكم. Now, let me check this hadith is from Abu Hurairah. Both of them are a hadith of Abu Hurairah. So usually what the author does is say what? When he's mentioned the hadith of Abu Hurairah already, the second hadith, if it's also narrated by Abu Hurairah, what does he say? وعنه. And from him also, rather than repeating an Abi Hurairah again. This time, in these copies that I have, he hasn't done that. The Prophet ﷺ says, look at those who are less fortunate than you, and don't look at those who are more fortunate than you, so that you will not underestimate the favors of Allah upon you. انظروا إلى من هو أسفل منكم ولا تنظروا إلى من هو فوقكم فهو أجدر أن لا تزدروا نعمة الله عليكم. متفق عليه, agreed upon by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. Now, looking at those who are less fortunate in matters of what? Matters of the dunya, matters of wealth, matters of health, and position maybe, and so on. The person looks at those who are below them. Why? What's the wisdom here? Stated in the hadith.
Recognize the favors of Allah.
Yeah, recognizing, so you don't underestimate the favors of Allah and belittle them. Because what one person sees as a favor is different from what someone else sees as a favor. Somebody who's brought up in extreme poverty and he's brought a fresh loaf of bread, that's a huge favor, or not? Huge favor. Somebody who's brought up in richness and huge amounts of food and all the types of food, if you brought him something 5 times as good as this, he'll say, what is this? Are we in prison or something? This is the food that you bring? Bread? Even though it's exactly the same food. Or maybe this one had even better food. But still look at the varying response. Because one person is only used to a certain type of lifestyle. For the moment they get any less, it becomes a shock. And this is why it's vital a person constantly reminds themselves of those who are far below us. And now we have media to make that easy for us. We can see the poorest of people, the people in most amounts of difficulty. In fact, most of us who have come from outside of the UK, we have relatives who are in similar positions. And those from our country who are in similar positions. Huge amounts of difficulty and no ability to go and get medical aid. Struggling to eat, struggling to drink, struggling to live in a place that's comfortable, struggling to drink water that is clean and fresh. So these things are always to be kept in mind. Otherwise the blessings of Allah will seem like they're not blessings. And that's a big disease of the heart. A big disease of the heart. No one has ever found contentment without gratitude. Ever. This is the one thing that brings a person contentment and happiness in life. You're grateful. Anything that comes your way, alhamdulillah. Anything that comes our way, grateful. This is a huge blessing. There are those who are far worse than us. Those who are far worse than us. And it was said to one of the Salaf, who had his leg amputated, taken off, and his arm taken off. And at the end of the day, after this accident, he was heard saying, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, huge blessing, and so on. So a man said to him, what blessing? The morning that you've had, and you say it's a blessing? He says, Alhamdulillah, our minds are not gone. Are there not people whose minds have disappeared? They can't think straight. These people without minds, can they recite the Quran and ponder over it? No. Can they remember Allah and feel khushu' in their remembrance? No. Can they pray? Can they speak and communicate properly and understand? No. But that's a huge blessing. So because he saw those below him, he saw that as a blessing. But if all he did was look at everyone else, everyone's walking, it had to be me. Had to be me who lost their legs. Why does everyone else have to be normal? As is so commonly said. Why everyone else? Why me? As though no one else ever suffers except us. Is that the case? Isn't it interesting that everyone thinks that everyone else only they suffer? Who's suffering then? If no one else is to me, when you ask me, no one's suffering except me. Ask him, no one's suffering except him. Except this dunya and what's in it. From the beginning of time till the end of time. SubhanAllah. How many rak'ahs of Fajr do we pray in 1 year? Almost 400. 1 year only. What of a whole lifetime? Only one of those is equivalent to the dunya and what is inside the dunya. Just one of those. So that means how much value is this dunya worth? Very little, if anything. Even very little is too much for the dunya. Even very little is too much for the dunya. That's why this dunya never becomes a major concern for a person. So what if things don't go our way in this dunya? So what if wealth doesn't come our way? So what if this doesn't come our way? It's not such a big deal. It's not such a big deal. The matters of the akhirah are far more important, Allah. It's far more important. Some people lose their minds because of small matters of the dunya. Tomorrow people will be losing their minds because A-level results come out tomorrow. Because they won't have a place at university. May Allah give success to all our students. However, again, the person loses their mind and some people commit suicide because they weren't accepted into the university of their choice or were rejected for a job interview. Matters of dunya are easy. If 2 rak'ahs of Fajr are better than this dunya and what's in it, how much is a university choice worth? If we will go backwards until Yawm al-Qiyamah, we won't reach such low number. How little that's worth. For really, these matters of the dunya never are worth. Person upsets us, something related to the dunya, no issue. No issue. This is very important because it ruins people's lives, worrying about this dunya. Perhaps we'll take one final hadith. وعن النواس بن سمعان رضي الله تعالى عنه قال سألت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن البر. I asked the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم regarding righteousness and sin. سألت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن البر والإثم. فقال البر حسن الخلق. He said صلى الله عليه وسلم in response, البر, righteousness is good character. والإثم ما حاك في نفسك أو ما حاك في صدرك وكرهت أن يطلع عليه الناس. أخرجه مسلم. So he says صلى الله عليه وسلم, righteousness is good character, good manner. And sin is that which causes irritation in your heart, in your chest, and you don't want people to look at you doing it. The question arises, some people do all of the evil in the world and they feel okay. They're fine with it. And this is a disaster. No disaster can be beyond that disaster. If a person not only does wrong, but doesn't care that they're doing wrong, maybe doesn't even know they're doing wrong. That's worse, far worse. This is why so long as a person feels guilty of the mistakes they make, they say, Alhamdulillah, the heart is still ticking, and it's still alive. Because some hearts are dead. Sin after sin after sin after sin, no feeling. No feeling whatsoever. That's the biggest disaster of Allah. A person who sins 50 sins, for example. These things are not really things you can give number like that, but let's say 50 sins committed by someone who doesn't even feel any regret. He is worse than the one who commits 10 times more but feels regret. That's right, without doubt. Because their heart is alive. Yes, they're committing more sin, but their heart is alive. They're accepting and admitting their sin. The first one is worse because they're only going downhill. This one still has hope. This one's holding on to something, clinging on. They'll be able to pull themselves up sometime, inshallah. if they continue persevering and making dua. This one is, only Allah can have mercy on such a person. He's very far away. Very far away. And for this is important to keep in mind. This hadith refers firstly to feeling irritation regarding to whether something is halal or haram. Not whether you're comfortable with it or not. Is that clear? For when the Prophet ﷺ says here, مَا حَكَ فِي صَدْرِكَ, you feel irritation in your heart, in your chest. You feel irritation about whether this thing is haram or halal. That's the point. Not any kind of irritation. Not any kind of irritation. But irritation and doubt regarding its permissibility with Allah. That's the point here. Otherwise, like we said, there are people who don't feel any irritation. Do we say therefore, don't worry, your actions are righteous? Abadan, no. Okay. For here, irritation regarding to whether such a thing is beloved or accepted by Allah or not. That's what we're referring to here. And the one who even has this in their mind is doing a good job. Someone who only acts thinking, is this something Allah loves or not? That's a huge blessing. How many people now just do things, embark upon anything without this even crossing their minds? Hold on, is this allowed for me as a Muslim? Or is it not allowed? Has Allah permitted this? Is this what the Prophet ﷺ commanded and taught? If these things are things that come to mind, that's a blessing, huge blessing. But this is what we refer to. That's the latter part of the hadith. The former part of the hadith is righteousness is good character. Good character. And Al-Qadi Iyad, rahmatullahi alayhi, from the scholars of the Malikiyya, rahmatullahi alayhim, he says, حسن الخلق, good character, is مخالقة الناس بالجميل, i.e. being around people with goodness. Being around them with goodness. When you're around people, always only goodness comes from you. And speaking to them and feeling for them, showing empathy and sympathy when required, soft, kind-hearted, in terms of speech, in terms of action, in terms of facial expressions, and so on. And being patient upon their harm, all of this goes under good character. And good character is huge. And in the narration, nothing comes on the Day of Judgment as heavy on the scale as husn al-khuluq, good character. Good character is huge. We don't consider it an act of worship, we just consider it something nice. It's a huge act of worship. It's a huge act of worship. Just like the recitation of Quran is a huge act of worship, this maybe is even a great act of worship. That a person has good character with other people. Recitation of Quran benefits you. Good character benefits you and others. Benefits you and others, and the community as a whole. If a person pushes themselves to have good character, some people, when they train themselves to have good character, it becomes almost impossible for them to not have good character. It's amazing. It's an amazing trait to have. So used to good character, such good character is part of their nature, fully inside their nature, they can only act with goodness. They only ever speak good. You'd be shocked to hear anything evil from them. You'd be shocked to hear even anything doubtful, even if it's not evil. Anything dodgy. Because of that, good character is part of them. Other people, maybe like many of us, good character requires effort and training and pushing ourselves and so on. But that's fine. Once a person exerts that effort and pushes themselves to make sure the good character becomes part of us, it will become second nature. Second nature. Maybe a person is lacking on patience, quick to lose patience. The moment something happens, get angry very quickly. You train yourself and train yourself and train yourself and force yourself and so on, and with time, you don't get angry. You don't get angry. You surprise yourself. You won't get angry at things. And this is something that's worth a person asking Allah to bless them with. Sometimes we forget to make dua for Allah to make righteous acts of worship easy for us. That's a huge dua. That we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our character good. And in the narration, Allahumma kama hassanta khalqi fahassin khuluq. Oh Allah, just as you have perfected my appearance, perfect my character. Just as you perfected my appearance, perfect my character. So asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us patience, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us good character, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to control our tongues, all of these very vital things, we make dua to Allah to bless us these. Ameen. Because they're very, very important things. And it's amazing when they become part of our character. طيب, I think we will suffice with that. Bi-idhnillah. The first hadith we mentioned was regarding 6 duties of a Muslim upon another Muslim. And the second hadith was the hadith of looking at those who are below us when it comes to matters of the dunya, or in order to thank Allah for all matters, in fact. And matters of the akhirah, we look at those who are above us in order to reach that and chase after them and go after them. We said reading stories about the companions or tabi'een or salaf sometimes can put us down, make us think, what are we worth? But that's not the intention of reading about them or studying their stories. The intention is to chase after them only. فَتَشَبَّهُوا لَمْ تَكُونُوا مِثْلَهُ إِنَّ التَّشَبُّهَ بِالْكِرَامِ فَلَا. Tashabbahu, if you're not able to be with them, then at least act like them. Acting like those who are excellent is in itself success. It's important to keep in mind. Okay, we can't be like Imam Ahmed, can't be like Imam Malik. Maybe a person says this to himself, but I'll do some of what they do. I heard this, they do this, they do this. I'll try and catch up with some of that. And if we catch up with 1% of what the Prophet ﷺ managed to teach us, or what the companions did with the tabi'een, is that success or not? It's a huge success, alhamdulillah. Huge success. So the aim is not to put ourselves down, it's to make us run after them, chase after them. And one of the tabi'een, when he was stood up in night, and he would struggle with standing up at night for such long periods of time, he said to himself, أَيَحْسِبُ أَصْحَابَ مُحَمَّدٍ sallallahu alayhi wa sallam أَن يَسْبِقُونَ إِلَيْهِ. Do the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam think they're going to get to him before us? Wallahi لَنُزَاحِمَنَّهُمْ عَلَيْهِ. Wallahi, we're going to hustle our way through as well. That's how high he's willing to battle with the companions. Willing to battle with the companions. The companions, radiallahu anhu, Allah is pleased with them in the Quran. But that didn't stop him. It didn't stop him. When he felt difficulty standing up at night, he said, no way, we're going to carry on. I'll force myself to carry on. Force myself to carry on, because I want to catch up with these. That's what we need. That's what we want. This mentality alone, wallahi, gets us so far. Just the mentality gets us really far. And the final hadith we mentioned was that of righteousness being good character and sin being that which we don't want people to see. We don't want people to see. And it causes irritation in the heart. And in the tafsir of the verse, يَعْلَمُ خَائِنَةَ الْأَعْيُنِ وَمَا تُخْفِي الصُّدُورِ, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma says, this refers to a man who, when with people, acts as though he lowers his eyes, but when alone, he's more than happy to look at what's forbidden. And this is key to keep in mind. Just like we don't want other people to see us committing wrong, we don't want Allah to see us doing it, without doubt. And this is some of the benefits of this final hadith that we mentioned. Wallahu a'lam, wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah.